Well, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of FightbackMedia.com, 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 and FightbackMediaTV.com. I'm glad you're here with us. It is a chilly, cloudy Thursday morning here in West Central Florida. And if you guys were worried and wondering, what about the storm in Florida? We're fine. There was some damage to some property in North Florida. Now, what I think people don't understand that how big Florida is. Florida is huge, and huge. And up in North Florida, up in the Panhandle, I believe in Pensacola, there was some damage there. But the storm lasted a lot longer there. So it was kind of like this. It was kind of like it was this big in the Northeast, and as it got down to my house, it the whole front narrowed to about this big. I think it rained for like a half hour at my house. The rain was intense, but it wasn't any more intense than one of our really bad summer thunder showers. Um, yeah, uh, these things get unfortunately blown out of proportion, and that's why you tune in here, and that's why I tell you the truth. If there was a Category 4 storm outside, there's a window here. Outside this window, I would not be in this chair, that's for sure, because that would be stupid. And I'm a lot of things if I'm not stupid. All right, anyway, we're going to get started because there's some stupid stuff to talk about for sure. Um, Before I get started, I had to go buy some hydrolyzed protein for my co host, who you may hear from. There she is. Later. You might hear from her later. Hydrolyzed protein was if the vet prescribed hydrolyzed protein, there is a huge expense to it. It's $80 a bag, but it's actually worked. It's kept the fur on her, and her gut is in good shape. That's really important to me for a 13-year-old kitty. So there you go. Excuse me. I went to the barber shop. Was on my way to get the cat food, and the radio was on, and there was clam buck. So as I'm pulling into the parking lot to the PetSmart, and actually I'm leaving, and I hear him, one of them, I can't tell the difference, talking about did you watch the Nikki Haley debate, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis GOP debate? Two people, because everybody else is a fraud. Um, everybody else is a fraud. Or did you watch the Trump town hall? Now, one of them says, "Well, I started off watching the GOP debate, but it got boring." And then he switched over and watched um, the Trump town hall, and he was fantastically Trump. He was funny, he was relaxed, he was entertaining. And at that point, when the dude said the word entertaining, I pressed the button and turned the radio off. Because that's the problem. We have, as a country, or one of the big problems, we as a country have been hornswoggled. Love that word. It's not really a word, it's a cartoon word. Um, into believing that something like being entertaining or being relatable is important when it is not. There are only two things that you should care about when electing actually anybody. You should be concerned with policy and you should be concerned with morality. That's it. Not if they're likable, not if they look good, not if they're tall, not if they act presidential or act gubernatorial. My problem with Chris Christie, who's out of the race, is not because he's fat. I couldn't give two rips about his weight. My problem with Joe Biden is not because he's old. My problem with Joe Biden is that he's communist and he's a puppet figure. I don't care if he's old. I couldn't care less. My problem with Hillary Clinton, it wasn't because she's a woman. It's because she's a communist. Policy and morality. And unfortunately, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see anybody even seemingly vaguely concerned with either of those two things when we're talking about this presidential cycle and Trump. We like Trump, but people will ask me that when I got into this whole podcasting thing, because I was into podcasting before podcasting was cool. When I got into this whole podcasting thing, people would call my call. I had a call-in show on Blog Talk Radio and ask me, "Why don't you like Obama?" And I was like, "I don't dislike Barack Obama or Senator Obama," and I always referred to him as when he was running. And then while on the program, once he was elected, I always referred to him as President Obama. I never got friendly with him because I don't know him to say, well, Barack this and Barack that, because a lot of my callers who were supporters of the president at that time would refer to the president of the United States by his first name, Barack. Like they had some sort of relationship. It's weird. I'm only concerned about policy and morality. I'm not concerned with what they look like. I don't care. I don't care who they married. I don't care. I care about policy and morality. And when people were asking me, do I like him or not? I'm like, I guess I like him. He seems nice enough. Now, I like a whole bunch of people that I don't want to be president. You feel me? I mean, there are people that I personally like. Now, if President Obama had invited me, and I said this a bunch of times, and just saying this pissed people off. If he invited me to the White House during March Madness to watch some college basketball, I would get on Spirit Airlines and fly to DC. I'd take a cab to the White House. I would have, most certainly. Sat down and ate those scrumptious White House snacks, watched some basketball with somebody who is knowledgeable about college basketball in the White House on the biggest TV that I've probably ever seen in my life. Yes, I've done that. But did I agree with policy? Not at all. Did I think those policies of the Democrat Party at that point were moral? No, not at all. And that would have disqualified, in my mind, President Obama from being president. The same thing that disqualified Hillary Clinton from being president, in my mind. The same thing that disqualifies Joe Biden from being president, in my mind. The very same thing. Policy, morality. So, what I don't want to hear from so-called conservatives, which I guess I have to put up with from Republicans, is that he was entertaining and he seemed relaxed and that he was funny, that he was relatable. It's not good enough. That does not that does not meet a standard. because apparently the discussion, the GOP debate, which should only be between two people, not this mass interview where you have 45 people on the stage all chopping each other down like it's some comedy. It's like what's that show with uh yeah, I'll remember a little bit. But that's not a debate. That's BS. A debate should be, here's the idea, you defend, you tell me your point, you tell me your point, and then you guys will battle it out, keeping focused on the subject, and then let me decide who wins. No, not exciting because there should be no name calling, because Ron DeSantis didn't turn to Nikki Haley and say, Nikki, you ignorant slut. So I guess it was boring. If you're not concerned about policy or morality, it was boring. If you're looking for a good time and a show, okay. And I say it that way because when I was involved in local politics, a lot of Republican clubs where I am, lots of Republican clubs. Every Republican club meeting, including the executive meeting, were something I started referring to as dinner and a show. And a lot of the club meetings met in restaurants. And if you met in a restaurant, you got to get something to eat. And then somebody would be a speaker. Well, who do you have speaking? Not what are you organizing? What are you doing? Do you have something going on? What are you doing? Well, we have a speaker, the show part. And then if you went and you go, someone would always ask you, are you going to have dinner? Because it's like $11 or whatever the price was. It doesn't even matter what the price was. I don't care about that. But it always went to the dinner. Are you going to eat? Because we're having the meeting in the restaurant, and and part of it is that we said that we would provide X number of meals, dinner and a show. So I guess what Clay and Buck liked about the Fox News broadcast of Donald Trump was that it was dinner and a show. It was a show, as opposed to just get some work done. Let's get some ideas out there. It's disturbing. As far as I'm concerned, it's disturbing. All right, we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back right after this with some more stuff for you.
We're going to do one veteran home for free. Now, when I say home, we're talking house wash, driveway, sidewalks, and perimeter fence if they have one. So I need your help with exposure on this so that we can get the jobs that we need as well as the veteran homes to clean, which is going to be a total surprise for them. We're going to show up, knock on the door, and let them know right then and there in the moment what it is that we're going to be doing for them. It is going to be pretty cool.
All right. Before we get into the back and forth about Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, we'd like to say from here, from Fight Back Media, is our prayers go out to Secretary Austin as he battles prostate cancer. We are believing for the best results. Prostate cancer is one of those things that if you find early enough, it's one of those cancers that you don't have to die from. Like skin cancer and prostate cancers are not cancers that one has to die from. They do not. Hopefully, if that was the deal, it was caught early enough, and we can look forward to a full recovery for Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in his battle with cancer. There you go. Now, what I do want to talk about is how in the hell did Joe Biden not know that his defense secretary was not on the job for like a week? How is that possible? How is that possible? that one of your main cabinet members during this time in our history, where there are wars and rumors of wars all around us, that your top guy on the defense front is MIA and you don't know. Now, there is a call. Now, this is the wrong call. There's a call for from Democrats and Republicans for Lloyd Austin to retire. I mean, to resign. Now, he may need to resign because of health reasons. He might, maybe. They say the purpose of the memorandum is to notify you that we plan to begin a subject review in January 2024, this month. The objective of the review is to examine the roles, processes, procedures, and responsibilities and actions related to the Secretary of Defense's hospitalization in December and January, and assess whether the DoD's policies and procedures are sufficient to ensure timely and appropriate notifications of the effective transition of authorities that may be warranted due to health-based or other unavailability of senior leadership. Yeah, whatever happened is terrible. That the president doesn't know that one of his main cabinet members is out of commission. Well, who's making the decisions at the Department of Defense? Who's the top of the chain? If there is not a more chain-driven branch of government, it's defense, right? Everything's chain, bang, 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 bang. So when you take the top link off the chain, who's making the decisions? Are decisions being made? And decisions have to be made all the time about a myriad of things. And the president doesn't know. So no one at the DoD got on the phone and said, Mr. President, Secretary Austin's in the hospital. He's in this battle with prostate cancer. This is what we're going to do, if it's okay with you. That didn't happen. So going on, the memorandum also says this: the DoD OIG may revise and expand the objective and scope as the review proceeds. We plan to perform this review in accordance with the Council of Inspector Generals on integrity and efficiency quality standards for federal offices of the Inspector General. Memo continues. We will perform the review at the Office of the Secretary of Defense. We may identify additional offices and personnel who might have information relevant to the review. Okay, so it's all this gobbledygook about what they're going to do. Now, I don't, but if I don't understand. I don't understand why Lloyd Austin didn't pick up the phone and call the president and said, Mr. President, I have to go to the hospital. He's in the hospital for like a week. I'm in the hospital. Hell, during Thanksgiving when I was in the hospital, everybody knew I was in the hospital. I didn't have to make any decisions. I didn't even have to go to work that week, and my work family knew I was in the hospital. So if I am Secretary of Defense, how does this information doesn't get back to the president somehow? I want to know how. I want to know why. So according to the DoD, the doctors at Walter Reed Medical Center, Austin was diagnosed with prostate cancer in December and went for a secret surgery. Now, why? After a subsequent infection, he had to go back to the hospital and ended up in intensive care. So he was diagnosed with prostate cancer in December, and then they went in to do the surgery the same month, which is super, which hopefully means they caught it super early. But he got an infection at Walter Reed. So during this entire period, Austin never informed the president, Joe Biden, Well, first of all, I want to know why Austin didn't pick up the phone and call the president. I want to know why that is. I want to know what's going on in the DOD that he didn't pick up the phone, or somebody in his camp, his secretary, a family member, somebody didn't do that. His deputy, who was on vacation in Puerto Rico at the time, was also not informed. I don't believe that. That somehow they're trying to make Lloyd Austin the fall guy for all of this, when it is there's something else going on here. Congress didn't know. I just it was 11 days. He's still in the hospital. How is it possible? How is it possible? Anyway, crazy. Don't you think? We talked earlier about which did you watch? Did you watch the debate at Drake University on CNN, or did you watch the town hall for President Trump? If you watch the debate, um, Republican presidential candidates Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis faced off Wednesday, uh, last night, in the fifth of the GOP debates, which comes days ahead of the January 15th Iowa caucuses. So the caucuses are like in 4 days. Now, a caucus is different than a primary of how it's handled, and I like it because what happens is the people who are in the party, who are movers and shakers in the party, go to different locations and they cast their ballots. So it isn't one of those things where you go down to the to your local polling place. That's my phone. I was making noise. Um, it's not the same. It's different. So that's on the 15th. That's in 14 days. That's next Tuesday. The debate, hosted by CNN at Drake University, saw the two spar on key issues, including abortion, foreign policy, immigration, and some other stuff. Here's some highlights, though. On immigration, Ron DeSantis, like former President Trump, vowed to carry out a mass deportation event, elected, calling the immigration crisis a ticking time bomb. They all have to go back. We have to enforce the rule of law in this country, he said. We cannot do an amnesty in this country, not at this point. Haley also agreeing, said, you have to deport them. On abortion, while the former U.S. ambassador to the UN argued she's unapologetically pro-life. Is she? She criticized Republican men for how they're speaking about the issue. These fellas don't know how to talk about abortion. So now she's playing the chick card. Now she's playing the chick card. I've got a big JJ, so I know how to talk about these things. I've said over and over again, the Democrats put fear in women on abortion, and the Republicans have used judgment. This is too personal of an issue to put fear or judgment. DeSantis said Haley is confused. I think she's trying to speak to different groups with different things, but when she's saying things like pro-lifers need to stop talking about throwing women in jail, that's a trope. No one I have ever met thinks that's something appropriate. And this is what the left is pushing. This idea, this trope that pro-lifers want women who have abortions in jail. And it's not true. Nobody's saying that. Nobody is saying that. And Haley, who is trying to play both sides in the middle, what she's hoping for, I believe, is to get Democrats for Haley, right? Democrats for Haley. She's trying to appeal to that group because there were Democrats for Trump, and she's hoping to appeal for the Democrats for Haley group, which I don't think there's going to be any, but anyway. On foreign policy, Haley stood firm on the support of Ukraine, while DeSantis was more in line with primary voters who want less involvement in the conflict. This is the benefit of having two voices at these debates, not like 16. Because there is here, in this particular issue, a very clear delineation. There are people who are like, yes, we need to support Ukraine against Russia, against Vladimir Putin at all costs, right? But at the same time, there are a lot of people out here with us saying, we gotta downshift out of these, ongoing conflicts, especially when we're dealing with two factions. Neither of them are in our best interest. The Ukraine, which during Trump was the most I'm looking for my co-host. One of the most corrupt governments in the world, and of course the Soviet Union. So maybe we should take that money that we're sending, the billions of dollars to the Ukraine, to participate in this proxy war, and start looking inward. Maybe get some of our homeless vets off the streets, get them into treatment, get them in the homes. All sorts of things you can do with that money. Protect the border. All sorts of things. On Israel, who has been our stalwart ally since its inception, it's probably time to step up. On Israel, while the two expressed support for the country's actions in its war against Hamas, jabs came out from both sides with Haley calling out DeSantis for bringing Representative Tom Massie, who she called the most anti-Israel Republican to Iowa. Okay, I'm more Jewish than you. That's the Indian chick. Anyway. One of her criticisms of DeSantis was he has blown through $150 million. She added, I don't even know how to do that because you haven't raised $150 million. You can't spend it if you've never had it. All righty. It's time to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sake, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.